parliament. Let's start with the parliament. Now here in Jordan, every 4 years we do have election, yeah? And here in Jordan, the king in Jordan is in full power. It's not just a title like the Queen of England, you know. Here in Jordan, that the king is the person who chooses the prime minister. Yeah? Prime minister, he chooses cabinet, you know, the other ministers. And like any other government in the world, they will vote in this, in the parliament house, you know, after prime minister and minister, they will talk about what's their plan, like other governments in the world, about development, unemployed, blah blah blah, investment, you know, like other governments in the world. Then they will vote in the parliament house by senators if they agree on this government or not. If they agree, vote most of them to this government, that's it. If not, 100 years ago, there is no difference in rights or in law, no difference in jobs. Where I believe Jordan, it is a very good place for both living together, and that's the way how it should be. Where nowadays we may hear about people in the world, they might be fighting in the name of God, you know, what I was facing, because when I did talk yesterday about the Crusaders, yeah, there was Christian Arabs fighting with Saladin against the Crusaders. But when Crusaders were defeated, yeah, a large number, at that time, when Crusaders went back to Europe, what's happened? A lot of Christians, they start facing difficulties by the Muslims. You know, at that time, when you talk about war, fighting, they'll be lost. Most of the families will be losing their father or their sister or his brother or his son. And there is people that want to take their revenge. When Crusaders went back to Europe, at that time, Christian Arabs did face difficulties, where a large number among them, they converted into Islam. They did. A very good example in Jordan, where you may find people here having the same family name. About half of them are Christians, the other half are Muslims. If you go to the ones who are Muslims, to go back to their roots, they were Christians. Sometimes when we say he's my cousin, we mean it, by the way. Sometimes there is people here, when they see groups coming, let's say, from Christian countries, they might come to them and says, I'm Christian too, you know, might they or not, you know, but actually, they might say, I'm Christian too, so that they think that it makes the people more happy for saying such thing. It makes me more happy, by the way, if someone comes to me and says, I'm Christian. But mind you, for other people living in a lot of democracy in a country that, okay, you're a Christian, but something between you and God, and no need for me to tell me that, and you don't have the right to ask me what's my faith is. There is type of people, you know. But here, still, they think it makes them, or it makes the others so happy if they are believing, or you know, believing in the same faith. I think that's what might make sometimes a person might come to you and says, man, I'm Christian, you know, it feels like you, especially when you see a person wearing a cross, and that, you know, it's more evidence that we belong, and you believe in Jesus. I'm too. Here in Jordan, we are only 5%. Majority are Greek Orthodox or Orthodox. Then comes the Catholics, Protestant, and so on. But even for us as Christians here in Jordan, okay, we are only 5%. But among us, really you could find a person who might says, I'm Orthodox or I'm Catholic. Maybe why? Because we are minority, 5%. So we stick to each other's. Yeah. And such way, sticking to each other's, you know, as minority, I think this is what makes a person might come to you and says, I'm Christian like you. But it's not in a way of trying to convince you to buy or something. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. I'm putting myself instead of him, I think, several occasions, you know. I won't do it nowadays with groups, especially when I work with groups like you, coming with Father Elia. I know that you are pilgrims, you know, and we love everybody, and even for me as a guide, you know, by the way, we work with several nationalities, different faith. Sometimes we might work with people. For me now, But working with groups that say coming to Jordan from the Far East, they don't believe in God. There is people that comes from countries in the world where their God is a cow. You know that, well, you know what's going on. Now, for us here, even that, there is, you will find other people in this part of the world, if someone comes to him and says, well, my God is a cow, it will make him laugh on him, make jokes on him, in front of him, you know, and that will be embarrassing. But for me, even if someone comes to me and he think that, okay, he believes that the cow is his God, I might show him, respecting what he believes. I don't have to believe in what he believes, but actually respecting what he believes, so that when I'm going to talk about Jesus Christ, I'm expecting from him respect also. And that's the way how we deal with each other, I think. Maybe sometimes we guys, when we talk to having groups from other beliefs, when we have a sentence in a way or another, with respect with each other's, you know, for the whole trip and so on, we might say a word or a sentence, it might stick in his brain. When he go back home, he starts searching and find out where is the truth by ending of accepting our Lord. And I think it's a mission. Sometimes it works. I'm not a preacher, but I think we'll try to do something. That's my answer. From second book of Samuel, chapter 11. You know, King David, it seems that he was having a very good relation with the Ammonites king. You know, that was the capital of the Ammonites. And the Ammonites king, his name, Nahash the second. Now when Nahash died, the successor here became his son Hanun. So King David, he sent his servants to condole the death of the Ammonites king. Now when the servants of King David, they arrived here to Rabbath Ammon, present Amman, the successor king, he thought that they came to spy this city. So what he have done to them? When he did shave half of their beards, right? Half of their garments till the buttocks. Canada on the right. Ceramic, Canada for ceramic. Makes you happy, right? And I'll tell you a joke about Canada when I'm done with King David. Okay. Now, so King David, when he sent his servants to Rabbath Ammon, then the successor king, he thought that they came to spy the city. When he did shave half of their beards, half of their garments to the buttocks, and he sent them back. So when King David, he heard about what's happened to his servant in Rabbath Ammon, he asked them to stay in Jericho till their beard grown. When at that time King David, he ordered his army to come and fight against the Ammonites. Now while the army of King David were fighting against the Ammonites, at one night, King David, he was worried. He was walking at the terrace of his palace when he saw a beautiful lady taking her bath. Her name, exactly, Bathsheba. So he asked for her and delayed with her. Bathsheba, she became pregnant from King David. Bathsheba, she was married to a man, his name Uriah the Hittite. And Uriah was fighting against the Ammonites here. When King David, he sent his army to fight, one of the soldiers was Uriah. So King David, he asked for Uriah the Hittite to come back home for vacation. But the loyalty of Uriah, instead of going home, he spent all night at the entrance palace of King David. He don't want to go home for vacation. He wants to come back here to fight. Next morning, when King David, he knew about Uriah, King David wrote a message. When he wrote the message, what? When you receive the message, kill the messenger. So Uriah the Hittite, without reading the message, he did deliver the message to the army leader, whose name is Joab. Uriah the Hittite, he was put on the front lines and he was killed on the walls of the citadel, and he was buried in Rabbat Hamun in Amman. That's what the Bible says, the Old Testament. Then when King David and Bathsheba, they heard about the death of Uriah, the husband of Bathsheba, they were married. But as punishment from God, the first son, he died after 7 days of his birth. And the second son from David and Bathsheba, he was Solomon. So when you read this chapter in the Bible, in the Old Testament, you could say that, okay, we have been to Amman, where Uriah the Hittite was killed. Okay? Canada. How many people from Canada? We have about 11, I think. Okay. Now it's a joke, but fathers, do forgive me for this, because that's a joke. The joke is about Moses, you know, Prophet Moses. You know, Moses is not used to talk properly, right? Is the word on the right? You said Ali Al-Yamin? Pharmacy. Okay. They start doing open heart surgery, where we do have thousands of patients comes to Jordan from Arab countries around and from the Gulf for medical treatment, where it seems to us that medical will become one of the main income in Jordan. And this medical center, it is connected with cables with Mayo Clinic in the States. You know, Mayo Clinic or Mayo Clinic, it's one of the best medical centers in the world. City Mall on the left. And back to the right, where the arches are, that's the main entrance to King Hussein Medical Center. You know, here in Jordan we have about 28,000 archaeological sites. Even Jordan by archaeologists considered as an open museum, where we do have also 50 sites in Jordan. Their names is mentioned in our Holy Bible, the Old and the New Testament, where we do have thousands of pilgrims like you comes to Jordan because of the biblical sites. The second resource in Jordan is the phosphate. Even yesterday on our way from Petra, we did pass the two biggest phosphate mine in Jordan. Now phosphate is what? Remain of fish bones and huge lizards, which means any area in the world mining for phosphate, it was under the sea. The third, you know, 80% of products of phosphate, it's used for fertilizer, but phosphate could be used in many chemical things, you know. The third resource in Jordan, it's agriculture. Even that 80%, it's considered desert, you know, the land in Jordan. Even I still insist that we don't have desert in Jordan, where we start to export vegetables and fruits since 1974 to the Gulf countries, where since 1980 we start also to export to several countries in Europe. The fourth resource in Jordan is the potash, you know, the potash from the Dead Sea. I'm sure that you didn't have an idea about the Dead Sea, you know, the Dead Sea products, which is very famous. And here in Jordan we have a product which is exactly like the dolmen, like the ahavas in Israel. It's called the treasures. You know, it's the same. The difference is the packing. Even here in Jordan is cheaper than Israel. It's called the treasures, and you know, where we get the potash, you know, the potash from the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, he did find out when he went to the Dead Sea that the water of the Dead Sea, it's between 6 to 8 times more salty than any ocean or sea. And the fifth resource in Jordan is the port of Aqaba. So we can find out that we don't have big industry, we don't have oil, but Jordan, I did say yesterday about how safe Jordan is. And as an example why there is a lot of buildings, the question is, a lot of constructions going on, development and so on. Well, because of stability and security in Jordan, I did say that if any conflict happened in any country around us, you may find out that Jordan is the right place where people could come and take a refuge. Like what's happened in 2003 in Iraq, we did end with about 700,000 Iraqi moved to Jordan. You know, when you talk about 700,000 Iraqi to compare it with the population of Jordan, you talk about 12 to 14% have been increased in a short period of time. Then we did control the border. Otherwise, we might end with Iraqi in Jordan more than Jordanian. A new church on the left. It's unfinished. So easy in Jordan to build a church, by the way. There's countries in the world where sometimes it's very difficult or it's impossible to build a church. So because of stability and security, this is what makes them building a lot and so on. Even when Iraqi they came to Jordan, they start to invest, they start buying lands, apartments. Even at that time, you know, when you talk about 700,000, most of them they settled, you know, they lived in Amman, and it did double and triple prices of apartments at that time. Now the other question is about the ones who are graduated from universities. Do most of them travel abroad? Well, there is a percentage that travel abroad, but most they stay in the country. In Jordan, you could find out it's not only in Arabic, it's in Arabic and in English. Now, English is the second language in Jordan after the Arabic. It's the second. Now, here in Jordan, or not in Jordan, I mean, and this is actually what makes people in the world, in countries in the world, I mean like United States, England, Australia, it makes them lazy to study other languages than English. Because wherever they go, they'll find people understanding them. And even if someone, let's say from Russia, he wants to go to China, or from Japan going to Germany, or from Italy to Spain, or from Jordan to Czechoslovakia, any place in the world. You know what I mean about this? I don't speak their language, they don't speak my language. English became the international language. This is what makes you that if anyone here, let's say, even if you speak a little bit English, the other country also, so the English became the language of the world, you know. And am I right? And this is what makes people, let's say, living in England or in the States or in Canada or many places, said, why should I study Spanish or German or French or Italian? Whatever I go, I'll find somebody understanding me. So, and I'm sure when you go back home, you'll be telling your people about your trip, your holy trip, you know, pilgrimage tour, about Jordan, and more people will be coming because of you. So I would like to thank you again. Thank you, Father Elia, to bring you here, and we hope to see him here at least, not every month at least. We need to see him about 4 times a year. As we say in Arabic, inshallah, God willing. Thank you for coming to Jordan, and God bless you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And the biggest thank, as usual, also with our excellent driver, Kamil or Kamal, for his excellent and safe ride. And I would like to give a big hand also to our tourist policeman, Ziad, for joining us. Thank you, Ziad. Paying for water. Have a seat now, for your safety. I will tell you what to do now. Okay. What shall I do? عندك كيس فاضي؟ أعطيني كيس فاضي بس. عندك ولا ما عندك شيء؟ You see, now, ladies and gentlemen, now people are asking about the water. You know what to do?
There is a bag.
There is a bag here.
Here, wait.
Okay? Now this bag, again, I will pass it by. You put your money off it for the water, and you will give it to the driver. Okay? Just have a seat, remain seated. Yeah.
And the Lord, servant of God who shall to his family, the driver, to the guards, good health, peace, long life, salvation, God grant them many blessed years.
Grant you many years, God, grant you many years, God, grant you many, many, many years. Многое лето,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Father. Thank you, everybody.
Father William can do it in Arabic.
Inshallah.
Yes.
See, that's again the African climate where we are. To see in certain areas the bamboo, or biblical name the reed, with the banana plant. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in about 2 minutes, I will pass by to collect your passport. So, what I need from you, kindly please, when I pass by, open your passport on the photo. And be sure it's empty, because if sometimes my people have a note or a picture, might be dropped by authorities when they check the passport, so be sure that the passport is empty.
When we get further again, simple. Will be a luggage boy, that. Don't tell them to take care of. Take the luggage, check the
So what is really saying, who are crossing the border, they put on luggage and load it to the bus.
That's what
Will be on Israel. Will be the same way back or not?
There will be luggage boy on the Israeli side.
Yes.
On our side, they will check you piece.
No, I understand, but on
On the
Israeli
Israeli
side.
side, there will be a luggage boy. They will take the luggage before the people they leave the bus.
So we don't need to handle our luggage.
But actually, there is small trolleys. You
Yes.
might need to put your trolley on small, your luggage or carry-on on small trolley. You enter to the immigration building, luggage will go on scan it on extra.
So we will have to go through scanner on the way back.
Yeah, on the Israeli side.
Okay.
We don't need to tell them about Jordan because Jordan is taking very good stand. Just look on these guys. Yeah, I'll take care. Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, one word also, when you get to the Israeli side, when you get to the Israeli side, when luggage boy where the immigration building, they will take your luggage out of the bus before people they leave. Then they will ask you to leave the bus. Again, as I did mention, you need to be sure you don't leave anything on the bus. And at this point, when you get out of the bus, everyone identify his luggage. Of course, you shall see your luggage or your carry-on. You put it on small trolley. Then you will enter in the immigration building where your luggage will go on scanner. Yeah, that's on the Israeli side. Of course, they did check few pieces of luggage in Jordan right now, but I'm not going to mention it because they're not going to take the whole luggage. They might take few pieces of luggage, and Father Ilya will be standing to see luggage boy taking the luggage out of the bus and bring it back. You know, they take only about few. Where at that point, I'll be busy with where authorities, they will check the passports and I'll bring it back, okay?
Да. Please take your seats. Because unless you sit, пока не сядете, мы не...
небо разверзлось. Тяп-тяп. Прям на свободе они гуляют.